What's going on, everyone? This is Waning Moonlight, and as you saw, we're here to talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, I'm sure most of you are already aware of this game. I mean, you clicked on this video, so I'm sure you know what it is. But if you clicked on this video and don't know what it's about, then thank you for clicking on it. And for those who need a quick refresher, Fire Emblem Three Houses is a game with three houses, four routes, and most importantly, different ideologies. These ideologies are obviously in conflict with one another, and that's what creates the largest scale war in Fire Emblem. And these ideologies, none of them are black and white. None of them are clearly correct. None of them are clearly wrong. These ideologies are all gray. However, if the book 50 Shades of Grey has taught anybody anything, it's that gray is on a scale, and so too is this game's morality. But the question is, how can we measure that? How can we really find out who is more or less moral within this gray? It took me a bit of time. It took me a whole weekend of thinking and then mapping it out, but I finally got it. A point system. There, we can judge a few things. We will judge on a chapter by chapter basis from 1 to 3 points, how moral they are. And then I'm also going to rate their end goal and how they went about it out of 5. Sort of like a overall kind of thing. And then at the end, we'll have a fraction, and we could turn that fraction into a percent to see how moral they are. That sounds confusing. You just kind of gotta wait till the end to see it, but don't skip ahead, because then you'll miss out on the rules and regulations we kind of got going on here. Now, an important thing to note when I am going to be discussing what's, right or wrong, what's not going to be included is supports, paralogs, or the white cloud section. Supports and paralogs, because they are all optional. None of them need to have happened, and because there are so many of them, that would really complicate things. And minus a few, the paralogs don't really actually impact the story. And I'm not going to be counting the white cloud section because, well, it's the exact same for all 3 routes, except for when you split off from Edelgard. And I just felt like that would lead to a unnecessary penalty to Edelgard, which I may not be an Edelgard fan, but I'm trying to be fair here, so we're not going to be counting that. So what we're going to be rating and ranking is the overall goal of each group, each route, and then I'm going to rate each chapter on an individual basis. Their overall goal will be on a 1 to 5 scale, and the routes on a 1 to 3. A 3 is obviously a good deed for a good reason. This could be stopping bandits because, they're stealing things. That's not very good. Or it could be, oh, you're being attacked, so you defend yourself. That's reasonable. And of course, I'll also give a 3 if they tried other routes. If they try a peaceful option, it doesn't work. So then the map is like part 2 to trying it. Now, being rated a 2 will be like, you may be doing a good thing, but there are better ways it could have gone about it. Like trying diplomacy. You could have reached out, said, hey, surrender, we have you surrounded, but instead you go in and commit a war crime. That's not good. And just because they do it too, that's still not a bad thing. You still have the greater good in mind. And a 1 is I understand why you're doing it, but that was probably not the best thing to do. Once again, this is just going to be straight up a war crime or unnecessarily violence. Does that make sense? If not, leave a comment and I'll try to maybe elaborate a little bit better, or maybe watch my rankings a little bit and you'll see what I mean. One more thing to note is when, as a player of the games, we know the information from all routes. We play Verdant Wind, learned that Rhea was a bad person. And we learned that when we signed with Edelgard. But does that mean on Silver Snow it's bad to help the church when we don't know that information? So that's why another little rule for this run is that, well, not more of a rule, but I want you people to keep in mind too, is that we have a lot of information that the characters in the story do not have. So I do not hold them at fault for not knowing information because, that would just be unfair. Because, if it was something like that, then someone could penalize all of Silver Snow because you're helping the church and the church did so-and-so that very few people even knew happened. So with all that in mind, it's time to get started with, well, Silver Snow. All right, now Silver Snow is where we go and help the church. And my understanding of their overall goal is to stop Edelgard and keep the church in power. And, save Rhea. Overall, I would give this a 3 out of 5 as a goal. The church does some bad. Yeah. It's not the best thing to do, but under the church, there weren't that many wars and the land was at peace. In the about 1,000 years that the church has been around or so, there have only been 3 wars. And that was with each nation splitting off. Here in, the real world, we had 2 major wars within half a century. So I think Lady Rhea's got us beat in terms of peacekeeping. They do get reformed with Byleth in charge, but again, as I said, that's not till later, and we don't really get to know what he does, or she, depending on what Byleth you pick. So with that being in speculation, I find it hard to rate it any higher than a 3. Then our first chapter, Chapter 13, Reunion at Dawn. Here, we meet up with Sedith. We're hanging out in the church when we find a bunch of bandits. And as I said, stopping bandits from stealing special artifacts, that's a good thing. That's 3 out of 3. Chapter 14, A King Without a Kingdom. The group is getting settled in Garrigmach. They're getting set up, making a base to be against the Empire, when Randolph and a group of the Empire soldiers show up and try and kill them. And self-defense, always justifiable. That's 3 out of 3. And as you might see, I'm going pretty fast with these. That's because there's 30 chapters in total I gotta do. And if I gave detailed thoughts over all of them, this video would be several hours long. So if there's a specific chapter you want to know more about, leave a comment and I'll talk about more of it. But either way, now we're on chapter 15, Valley of Torment. Here we're going to go meet up with the Alliance and, kind of make an agreement. There we get attacked by people who have betrayed Fogust. And that's still self-defense, 3 out of 3. I could see an argument for, but we were going against the Empire, so, we were going to fight them, so they fought us first. Yeah. But we, at that time, didn't initiate anything. They did start it, so that's why I'm giving it 3 out of 3. Then we have Rose-Covered River, chapter 16. Here is our first level of being offensive, and we're going to go take a bridge that originally belonged to the Alliance, and we're going to take it back for them. Well, we're taking it back so we can cross it, and that's where I'm not really sure what to rate for this. Because technically, we are the church, that's our group, and that means we technically don't need to cross on the Alliance side. We could find another way. But the fact that we take this bridge and we are partnered with the Alliance, I'm giving it a 2 out of 3. Could have done something else, but it's not the worst thing. It's not a bad choice. Next up, Chapter 17, The Impregnable Fortress. After the Battle of the Eagle and Lion, which we don't get to take part of, not cool for hanging out without us guys, we learned that the Empire is kind of, distracted with the big hit they just took from that battle. And during that, we decided we should sneak into a fort. And how do we do that? By disguising ourselves as enemy soldiers. Congratulations, guys. That's a war crime. You can look it up. That is a legitimate war crime. So that's a 1 out of 3. Not cool. Chapter 18, Chaos of War. Here, attacking another town where we fight the Death Knight and Hubert, where we're attacking their city. Not the best thing. Again, diplomacy could have tried to be used. So that's a 2 out of 3. Conclusions of the Crossing Roads. And it's the time we go and stop Edelgard and save Rhea. And this level, I feel like, was a very harsh one. Not in terms, well, it was a little hard to beat in game, but when you actually break it down. So instead of going for diplomacy, we just enter, beat Edelgard, and when she's beaten, she's really sad about it, even saying she just wanted to be with us. And how does Byleth respond? By straight up murdering her. Like, my guy, there's such a thing as a prisoner of war. There's such a thing as, well, just even a prisoner. You don't gotta put her down like an animal. And yeah, saving Rhea was good. Well, I mean, saving anybody, good or bad, from being in prison is a good thing. But for the invasion and for needlessly killing Edelgard, she could have been a prisoner. I'm giving this one a 1 out of 3. But, that's it, right? We got Rhea, we got Edelgard done. That's the end of the route, right? Chapter 20, City Without Light. Okay, so we find a note from Hubert who tells us where those who slither in the dark are hanging out, throwing a party. Which we decide to go to their home base and attack them. And though, yes, I've been saying invading a land when trying diplomacy would be better, but in this case, those who slither in the dark have been attacking everybody for hundreds of years. From understanding, they have been actual terrorists. So, I can see that just going to fight back is not the worst option. So I gave that one a 3 out of 3. And to wrap things up, we have Chapter 21, Following a Dream. Here, Lady Rhea got hit by one of them magic missiles and started to go crazy. And we have to put her down. She's insane. She's not normal. She's fighting us. Putting her down is fine. That's just defense. That's a 3 out of 3. Perfectly okay. So that wraps it up for Silver Snow. Overall, not too bad. And we have a final score of, we got a score of 25 out of 32. Not bad. There's some room to improvement, but for a starting off point, that's pretty good. Now, next up, we got Probably the people's favorite lord, Claude in Verdant Wind. Now, Claude's goal, very noble to my understanding. He's trying to unite everyone and basically end racism. And that's a 5 out of 5 goal. No notes. That's good work, man. But the question is, how does he go about it? Let's break down the chapters and see. Chapter 13, Reunion at Dawn. To, I'm sure everyone's surprised, once again, stopping bandits. That's a good thing. 3 out of 3. Chapter 14, Alliance Leaders' Ambitions. Here we have our group trying to form a little army against the Empire, and Randolph attacks us. Well, self-defense. 3 out of 3. Chapter 15, Valley of Torment. Okay, these are different routes, right? We're going, we were at Garreg and we're on our way to the Alliance when we get attacked by a group from Fargus. So they're under the Empire. So once again, 3 out of 3. Rose-covered river. Yeah, taking the bridge back. That's 3 out of 3. That belonged to the Alliance already. So retaking your own land, I mean, that's very reasonable. Now, next up is Chapter 17, Blood of the Eagle and Lion. This one's quite alright. It's not quite alright. Here we meet up with Edelgard and Dimitri in a 3-way free-for-all, a 1v1v1, which I love that they did this. It's a very fun map idea. And I hope they do it in future Fire Emblem games. But either way, this one here, we're in Gronder Field, which is part of the Empire. And this one's hard to rank because, it just kind of becomes a bloodbath with everyone fighting each other. It's a bit of defense, while obviously being offense to try and beat everyone. So I could see anybody ranking this in any sort of level. I think I'm gonna go with a 2 out of 3, just because it just feels right. You know what? There was no better way that could have come out of this when Dimitri literally saying kill them all, every last one of them. If somebody says that to me, I feel like they ain't open to diplomatic relations. And well, Edelgard was ready to go too. So it's a 2 out of 3. I could see a 3 out of 3. I could see a 1, but I'm going with a 2. Next up, we got Chapter 18, The Golden Scheme. Sounds cool, sounds unique, but it's still the war crime level where we put on soldier disguises and go into the fort. Good job, Claude. Your masterful tactician brain came up with a war crime. Chapter 20, Crossroads. Fighting. This time we go and fight Edelgard, and it's less barbaric this time. When we beat her, she literally says like, yo, kill me, it's fine, it's what you need to do. So because it's a little more asked for, I think it would be more of a 2 out of 3. Not the best way things could have ended, but she was okay with it. But I could see somebody ranking it lower. And then Chapter 21, City Without Light. Once again, terrorist, we don't like that. 3 out of 3. Then finally, Chapter 22, Fodlan's New Dawn. And I'm surprised, guys, we get a original level after this copy and paste mess. Here we find Nemesis and his boys are just revived, tearing it up, and we gotta stop them. And well, as I said, stopping bandits, that's a good deed. 3 out of 3. Good job, Claude. Doesn't make up for the war crime, but you did better. Overall, with everything he's done, He net himself 30 out of 35 points. Not bad. And to my understanding, he does accomplish his goal working with the Almirans and stuff, so good for him. Next up, we have the most unethical, diabolical one of them all. Me. I'm here to ask, middle of the video, for you guys to subscribe if you like this video. I tried my best. I worked hard researching, gathering information, and it would just be appreciated if I get a like and subscribe, if you're entertained. And, the more people that like and subscribe means to me people enjoyed it and I should do it more. So then I'll make more videos like this. And with that little distraction and self-promotion out of the way, we're on to the real next route, Dimitri. Now, his route was a little hard to rate. I'm sure most of you know for the beginning bit, he goes a little crazy. He gets a little insane, which does affect his judgment a little bit. However, he does say some things that kind of show he does have some good intentions still. Like in the first chapter, he has the line that we must stop the cycle of the strong trampling the weak, which kind of shows, he may be mad with wanting to murder people, but he still does have some good intentions in him. So keep that in mind as we go through the level ratings. So what's Dimitri's goal? And throughout the story, his goal seems to be to retake the kingdom and to stop Edelgard. And I want it noted that I say stop. You see, yeah, in the beginning he's saying he wants to murder her, he wants to kill her, he wants her head, so on and so forth. But at the end, he tries to actually negotiate with her, tries to get her to step down, reaching his hand out to her so he doesn't have to kill her. Which is really the only person who does this in a actual manner. I mean, Edelgard does go bow before me, accept my rule, but Dimitri actually did try negotiations, which, because of that, I gave him a 5 out of 5. He did good for that. So to start us off, we have chapter 13, which, once again, it's the reunion where there are thieves, and he's still getting a 3 out of 3, because though he may have the killing everybody thing going on, but he's still killing them because they are thieves. He wouldn't have killed innocent people, so to me he gets a pass. Next up is chapter 14, The Delusional Prince, and $20 to who can ever guess what this map is. Did you guess the Empire attacking them at the church with Rudolph? Then you're right. And 3 out of 3. Once again, self-defense is okay, insane or not. 15, Valley of Torment. And here we're actually going to meet up with Rodrigue this time. But we're still attacked by the troops. Chapter 16, The Rose-Covered River. This one, I'm going to give a 1 out of 3 because this is where I'm going to put in he is charging Edelgard just for revenge and to just kill imperial troops. That's not good motivation. So I give him a 1 out of 3 on that one, my guy. And then chapter 17, Blood of the Eagle and Lion. Same thing. He's out here causing a ruckus, fighting everybody because he wants bloodshed. I mean, more targeted. He doesn't care for Claude, but he's going to fight Claude. So 1 out of 3. Not cool, bro. Now, chapter 18 is when he's back. The king's triumphant return. Here, he goes back to try and retake his kingdom. which, taking out a horrible ruler to retake what's yours is perfectly fine. That's a 3 out of 3. You did good. Chapter 19, The Golden Deer Plea. Here, Claude is being attacked by the Empire, and he asks us for help. That's really good. Helping out a friend, that's always a good thing. 3 out of 3. And then we got chapter 20, The Impregnable Fortress. And here we are to go and see that Dimitri does not commit a war crime this time. In fact, unlike everybody else who breaks in with disguises, this time he says, like, the Death Knight won't fall for that. Let's just charge through the gate. And he's so cool for that. 2 out of 3, still attacking a town, but, he did better. Chapter 21, Our Chosen Paths. Here is where, beforehand, Dimitri actually reaches out to Edelgard to try and make peace. They have a talk, he gives her the dagger, and they still go to war. And for trying for peace, I gotta give him a 3 out of 3. He did good, trying to not end things with violence. Whether or not it went that way, he still tried to end it a different way. Chapter 22, Oath of the Dagger. Here is Endgame. We show up, we see Edelgard transform into her monstrous form. We defeat her, and when she's gone, Dimitri reaches his hand out. Like I said, he went for peace. She throws the dagger to try and kill him, and he had to put her down. So, tried for peace, good deal. So, not bad. But the question is, once again, overall, how did my guy do? Well, adding up all of his points, he actually ties with Claude, believe it or not, gaining a 30 out of 35. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting Dimitri to be more on his, his murder-hungry rampage to affect his score. But in my professional opinion, think he was fine. Which means we're here to now talk about what everyone's been waiting for. The final route, Crimson Flower. Alright, here, Edelgard wants to end the rule of the church, stop the injustice, and make people with and without crest equal. So that's obviously a 5 out of 5 goal. If you think, ending discrimination's bad, then I think you need to look at yourself and really evaluate things. But how does she go about it? Well, chapter 13, here we find her fighting the band. Wait, we're not fighting bandits this time? Finally. Okay, we're fighting the Alliance. Okay, as we've said, conquering people, not the nicest thing to do. Jumping right into invasions, so that's a 1 out of 3. Okay. So, the Master Tactician, chapter 14. Here, we're in Alliance territory, chasing after Claude, and there are 2 options in this route, this level, that actually can really impact its score. And that's because we have 2 options. We can either recruit or kill Lythicia, I don't know how you pronounce it, or, recruit or not. And then when we beat Claude, we can either kill him or let him live. And obviously, letting people live is a good thing. And it's more peaceful. So I decided to give this one a 2 out of 3. Because it can go in different ways. You could be on the murder-hungry route, or you can be nice. And so with the division, I just felt like a middle-of-the-road option's pretty reasonable. Next up is chapter 15, Tempest of Swords and Shields. Here, Rhea and Sedith show up to try and retake Garreg Mach. And yeah, self-defense is a 3 out of 3. But the reason they're attacking us is because we took their home. And they're wanting to retake it. And I feel like, yeah, it's self-defense, but it's because we took something from theirs. And isn't really moral to steal something from someone and then kill them for wanting it back. I'm giving this a 2 out of 3 because it is self-defense, but they were attacked for a justified reason. And next up, we got chapter 16, Lady of Deceit, conquering Fargus this time. So once again, not good, 1 out of 3. And then chapter 17, Field of Revenge. And this is one of my favorite levels. Has my favorite quote in all of gaming. Dimitri goes and asks, like, Edelgard, must you continue to conquer and take lands? And Edelgard's like, well, you're just as bad if you're trying to reconquer and retake lands. And it's like, that's not how it works. I just found that so funny. Edelgard, that's a 1 out of 3. Mostly for that being your reasoning. And also because, again, you're murdering people when you know, not good. And chapter 18, The End of a Dream. Now, here we go to storm a castle, the actual capital of Fargus, where the churches hold up. Now, here is interesting because maybe it's me and how I'm thinking technically, but we did defeat Dimitri. With the king gone, defeated by us, that means by, right of conquest. People could claim that, Edelgard now holds control of the country, but Rhea is in the capital, who is then setting the streets on fire for when we approach to fight us. All this makes Rhea look pretty bad. You could see Rhea as defending herself because we are the ones attacking her, but we're attacking her for a justified reason. So I'm giving it a 2 out of 3. Not the, I don't know if there could have been another better way to go about it, but it's also not the best move. And while we're talking about Edelgard, what I think would have been way better, I mean, not for a game, but for a story, is like, look, Edelgard, you are in school with the next 2 rulers of each nation. You are friends with them. You are cool with them. Just wait till they're actually in charge. I mean, Dimitri's already, I think he's king. I mean, because no one else is really in charge. So you could talk with him. And Claude is going to be he's not the, the Alliance has a group of people, has a circle, but still, he's going to be in charge. And he's already on the side of ending discrimination. So just talk with them. You don't have to, the minute you're in charge, start a war. That's not cool. But either way, that aside, for working with terrorists too, because she does work with those who slither in the dark, she ends up with a total of 14 out of 23. Now here at the end, we have our final numbers. Let's turn them into percents and let's see how right they were. Silver Snow over here had a 25 out of 32, which equals out to being 78% alright. Verdant Wind and Azure Moon both had 30 out of 35, which becomes 36. And Crimson Flower had 14 out of 23, which is a 60%. So, overall, in my opinions, these are how moral they are, how right they were. But some of you may not be happy with the tiebreaker. So if you want a absolute winner, I'm going to say Dimitri. For the one kind of thing is that Claude kind of abandons Fodlan and goes to worry about other countries, while Dimitri's actually here to take over things. And so maybe that's just me, but I feel like him trying to actually take responsibility for his actions before going to spread anything else, I feel like is fine. Like he's trying to make sure things are stable. And if you think Claude's better, then that's fine too. As I said, these were all kind of my opinions with my breakdowns. And if you enjoyed this video, if you think I'm right, then as I said earlier, do like and subscribe. If you would like to debate the topic, then you can subscribe and comment. If you dislike this video and fully disagree, then you should subscribe and comment so then you can see more of my videos to disagree with. Either way, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day, people.